Yo, what's happening? Conor McGregor busting his shit last night. Was literally having a conversation with one of my guys yesterday morning before the fight, talking about Conor McGregor, where he was at prior to this fight, his demise, him falling off the wagon, the difference between that Conor and the guy who was on the upswing, who was winning, who was dominating the sport. And we were talking about his posture, his training, his mobility training. And I'll put a picture up right here. What we were talking about was his posture. You can see the inward rotation, the parallel feet, the positioning of his stance in the beginning of his career or in the height of his career. And then as he started going down, his feet started opening up. Now, there's a lot of rhyme and reason as to why this happens, what causes that. A lot of it is just literally losing your ass. Literally losing your ass. You stop activating the glutes, you stop connecting with what really drives power and force and positioning, and it starts with the foot and ankle, but then it translates to glute activation or your ass activation. Being able to activate your glutes, to be able to take weight off the low back, to not be so front focused, anterior focused, but more posteriorly powered. The greatest athletes in the world are all driven from the ass. No homo. But you think of Bo Jackson, you think of Deion Sanders, Ed Reed, you think of Barry Sanders. Like, these guys had this internal rotation of their feet, which translated to power from the glutes, from the ass, to be able to drive forward. Mike Tyson too, same thing. And we were talking about this yesterday. I was pointing it out that it'll be interesting to see how he fights tonight, because I haven't seen him go back to that internal rotation, to go back into that neutral plane or that positioning with the feet. Now, this leads all to sorts of issues. You're less resilient, you're less powerful, you're less strong, your athleticism goes down. So as you open up your feet and you go more duck walked as opposed to pigeon toed, duck stance, pointing your toes out, it's so normal now that nobody notices, nobody pays attention to it. But something that I was paying attention to and noticing, and we were making a point, I was talking about this, going, it'll be interesting to see how he fights tonight, because if he fixed that, if he put that back into his routine and he was able to get back into that old stance, then I think he would have a chance. I think it would have completely been a different fight. Now, the other thing too that's been standing out is signs. Like, the body gives you signs. It's always communicating with you. It's always talking with you. And about 3.5 months ago, 4 months ago, I had a little minor pec tear in a bench press I was doing. And I was lifting hard. Things were going good. I was definitely on an upswing with my training. But the day before that bench press, that decline bench press, where I strained my pec in the beginning, it eventually led to a tear. But the initial strain that led to the tear, the day before that happened, I was squatting and I strained my quad. And and I backed off the squat, threw the bar down, went on to the next thing. It was a very minor strain, enough for me to go, got it, hear it, okay, back the fuck off. And then the next day I go in for bench press and I'm lifting heavy again, finishing up my program, and I strained my chest. It ripped up pretty good, but I didn't tear it at that point. It was a couple weeks later I got a little too cocky and got into it a little too fast, and I ended up tearing it after the strain. But the point being is that my body was going, hey, chill the fuck out, back the fuck off, right? Not today. Time to switch it up. And that's happened so many times in my career, in my training, in life, where something gives you just a straw in the back, a pebble in the shoe that just goes, hey, stop, take this shit out, start going a different direction, do something a little different. Happens in all realms of life. And so last night I noticed, everybody's pointing it out now, but I noticed when he was getting his Crocs or his sandals off that he stumbled, and it looked off. It looked off. Something was off. I was like, there's something off there. Like his balance was off or something. It just didn't look right. And whether he knew or not knew, I mean, he looked good in warm-ups and all that, but he was hobbling off. He was not putting weight on that right knee when he was getting out of his sandals and kind of hobbled, which was interesting. But speculation here or there, whatever it may be. I've heard all different types of things. Everything from it was a sacrificial, Masonic sacrificial thing to, just he faked the injury and it was a money grab to, shit happens. And I think from his standpoint, shit happens. But whoever's training him, whoever's working with him, that internal rotation, that neutral positioning with the feet, which translates into glute activation and that stability in the knee ultimately, well, it could have been prevented, because your degree of resilience goes down the more you rotate out. And this is really in anything in life. The more you go out, the more you rotate outward, the more susceptible you are to being reactive, the more susceptible you are to injury, the more susceptible you are to getting thrown off or injured or off the path. Right? The more outward you go, in life, the more you seek external validation, the more you go outward, the more disconnected you get with yourself. And so we got to bring it inward. You got to get in touch and in tune with yourself and know who you are and know what you're about and know how everything is working for you, first and foremost. And we're so outwardly focused to please the wife or the girlfriend, to take care of the kids, to run the business, to then finally get to ourselves. And by the time we get to ourselves, we don't know what the fuck we're looking for. We don't know what the fuck we're doing, because we're so out of touch. We're so outwardly focused. This is society as a whole. This is why I come here. This is why I come to the cemetery. To go in. To be reminded of how many people, live and then just are forgotten, rest under these graves. Though I believe they go on in spirit for sure. Spirit never ends, never goes away. It's just in this physical plane, we're so worried about what other people think, what other people want, and what other people need that we get out of touch with ourselves. So injury is a reminder to look within. That strain, that tear, that shit that Connor ate, those are all signs and signals to go within. Something is too outwardly focused, you're not paying attention to something that needs to be addressed from within, needs to be worked on from within. And I'm even going to spin it this way, because this is another conversation I had yesterday with my guy. We think spirit is within. We say this, we've been taught this, we talk about this, and perspective and definitions are so important. Spirit is not within us. We are within spirit. We are a speck, a fucking dot, a microbe in the expansiveness of what spirit is, of what consciousness is, of what reality really is. We think this is reality. We think this is reality. We think this is reality. No. It's far beyond this. This is all an illusion. This is all a shadow of what is actually real. Another reason why I come here, because you look at all these graves, you look at all these lives, you look at all these names, and people come and go and put these flowers out, and 3/4 of these probably don't ever get visited. This is all just a spectacle. So maybe instead of looking within, we need to look above. We need to look higher. We need to tap in, tune into the higher self, source, consciousness, God, divinity, reality. Defining what reality is important. Defining what is real, what's an illusion, starts to get you into a place where you start playing the game differently. When, exactly as an example as last night, the octagon isn't it's a part of their life, but it's not their life. They had their wife and their kids around them. There's something far bigger than just the fight itself. They put it all on the line to go out there and fight, but there's something far more bigger than that. And, Connor was alluding to that, talking about, this morning that he's facing the devil, this injury really kicked him in the nuts. He's going to church today, and he will be back. Well, he needs to look within or above in a way that is going to get him back into a place where he can get into a position, back into that posture and that positioning that will allow him to excel. And this is something that we as men need to pay attention to. I mean, something as simple as walking. How many people are paying attention to their gait, their pattern when they're walking? Not many. We take it for granted. Until you bust your foot, your big toe, your ankle, or your hip or your low back goes out, you're not thinking twice about your walk. You're not thinking about how to get from A to B, how you're positioning yourself. Let me know what comes to mind with all this. With yourself, with your position, with your posture, what you think reality is. For me, reality is indescribable. If this is all an illusion right here, what I'm recording, where we're at in this world, whatever you're doing right now, it's all just a point of focus. It's not the whole. It's not the whole thing. Wherever you're at, right there, right now, is your experience. It's a part of reality, but it's not the whole thing. The way I define reality is it's everything. It's what people call God. It's what people call spirit. It's what people call consciousness. That's reality. That's real. That's the true nature, right? Everything else is just action from the thought, action from the idea, action from the belief, or a feeling that leads to an action. But there's always something prior that leads to the feeling and the action. You have an idea, which gives you a feeling, which makes you take action, which gets you a result. And then that cycle repeats over and over and over. That results then gives you feedback as to what new idea or what idea to continue with, or what belief to continue with, or what thought to continue with, to then go back into that feeling that reiterates the action, which creates the result. And that cycle just continues over and over and over again. And until you have something like an injury or someone or a situation create a new awareness within you or above you, you continue just to do the same thing. We've all had those moments where it's like we're all asleep in some way, shape, or form. We're all blind to certain things at certain times. There's moments of awareness, and then there's moments of like just complete blindness. Using Connor as an example, he was blind to that dysfunctional movement pattern, that dysfunctional outward stance. What do you think caused it? Was it a money grab? Was it truly an injury? Was it a sacrifice? Was it all three? Was it another thing that we don't even know? I'd be open to hear some theories on that. Nothing is impossible. Absolutely nothing is impossible. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. There's a lesson to be taught, to be taken away from. My guy texted me today. He goes, dude, it's crazy that we talked about this yesterday. And he had an injury. And I replied back, I just go, We're all teaching each other lessons. Connor's included in that. Some people are going to get that lesson and others aren't. And that injury is going to be completely interpreted differently from someone who has actually injured their knee like that, right? And it's going to be interpreted completely different from somebody who trains people to go from an outward stance to a neutral or pigeon-toed stance, to create that turn, to create that torque that the body naturally has, that we're naturally born with, but we, through sitting, excessive sitting, and lack of working out and disconnection from our bodies, we lose that naturally. Every animal in the wild has that stance. Trees, if you look at them and you study the pattern in which they grow, they spiral up, they rotate up, they have that Fibonacci sequence, that golden ratio that rotates upward. And we too, our fascia, our connective tissue, rotates in that same manner. It rotates around that. So if you're rotated outward with the feet, you're actually completely undoing the rotation. You're undoing that sequence. It's that rotation that creates the resilience to allow everything to withstand pressure and stress. We have to have training that works on that rotation. Anytime we're rigid in something, if we're rigid in a belief, if we're rigid in our posture, if we're rigid in our training, in our calendars, in our way of doing business, and in our approach with sales, and our approach with communication, in our love life, if we're rigid in one way or the highway type of thing, it appears to be a strength, but it's actually a severe weakness, because you could be so strong in one aspect, but that leaves you susceptible to all this other stuff that could cause pain, injury, defeat. You have to be willing to look at the blind spots. And you need a group. You need multiple set of eyes to be able to be looking out for your flank while you're forward. And you need somebody above who's looking at the whole ground, right? And that's where I see spirit and getting above, connecting to higher levels of consciousness, connecting with God, divinity, reality, whatever you want to name it as. It's all one. Universe, one verse, one tune, one tone. That is all, right? You have music, you have multiple notes, but it's all music. It's all, those notes are compiled to make the whole, right? If you play one note all the damn time, it ain't gonna be a hit. But if you sequence notes and get the whole spectrum of notes in line, playing together and sequence together, spiraling together, you create a beautiful symphony. And if you focus on one particular instrument and one aspect, you gain awareness of it, but you isolate the others. But if you start to, you got to kind of do both. You got to get reps in and isolate one aspect, but then add an additional aspect to the second rep, third rep, fourth rep, or whatever it is that you're doing. The same thing goes in sales, right? You're not going to be an expert at sales by doing one call or one consultation. You got to get the reps in and work with multiple people and get objections and work through those objections. And as you gain those objections, you start to think less and be more and more in tune. Think ahead before the objection even comes, so that it doesn't even become an objection in the lead or customer or client's mind. You got to do the same thing with your girl. You get so in touch and in tune with yourself that you're able, your spider senses just come on, and you're like, oh, you're able to sense things before they even come out, and you're able to address them before they even happen. And even when they do happen, it doesn't even fuck with you. The way you respond is what determines ultimately your success. And what I saw today with Connor's tweet about saying that he's going to come back, this is just another situation that he will overcome, and he will get back out into the mat, into the ring. When I saw that text, my guy texted me that, the one who I was talking with yesterday. I said, there is no time. Time is an illusion. This moment that you could call time was not his time. I sent him this clip from Kanye after he sent me that tweet.
Sometimes it's not that I'm not right. Wait for it, watch it, I got a good one, here we go. Sometimes I'm just not right now. It's not right now. It's not that right. You're not right. It's just not right now.
I'll post the tweet here and the conversation we had. You can see I said that no circumstance or situation should define a man. He sets in his mind who he is. No matter what circumstance or situation, he put his chips on this version of himself. And regardless of wherever the wheel spins, he is committed to putting it on red. And regardless if it happens or not, if it lands on red, great, and he doubles his money, so to speak, cool. And if he doesn't, cool. Because even if he does not succeed in the UFC, he's got way more chips than being Conor McGregor UFC champion. He's a father, he's a husband, he's a man of God. He's got a bigger mission. UFC is a vehicle, but it's not the mission. Every man's mission somehow connects to being the best version of yourself. Being the absolute best version of yourself. That's your higher self. That's connected to consciousness, spirit, reality. And everything around that. Circumstances and situations is just feedback. Indicators that you either paid attention to the right things and got things dialed in, and you put your chips on red, and the roulette table landed on red, and you're able to get it back, and then some, or it didn't. You got to go back and get some more chips. You always have more chips, though. If you're breathing, if you're here, if you're not in one of these graves right here, you're still in the game. You're still in this game. There's so many people, the majority of people, worry and judge and put their worth into that risk, that bet, that calculated risk, right? We're all taking calculated risk in business, in relationships, in content, in marketing, in sales, in conversations, and going up and putting yourself out there. It's always risky, quote unquote, right? But for the man who is not, his worth is not determined by circumstance or situation, there is no risk. That's a man who is unbeatable. That's a man who can take an injury like last night and go back to the drawing board. Michael Jordan said it. He never lost a game. He just ran out of time, right? In the confines of that game. But if he had more time in the game, he would have been able to win, right? So if Conor McGregor has more time, so to speak, to compete, he's got another shot. And if he doesn't, you move on and you start another. You get into another vehicle that continues to enhance your mission, continues to allow you to set new conquests and missions to complete, ultimately to fulfill the vision. I said this before, we got to get clear on what our vision and mission is. My vision is to make the world a healthier, happier place. That is my vision in this game, to make the world a healthier, happier place, because everybody who's healthier and happier just makes a brighter world and a more playful, adventurous world. Right? When we're kids and we're all healthy and happy, we were out shooting guns, running around the neighborhood, riding bikes from place to place, ripping and tearing it up, and not a care in the world, right? So when you have your health and your peace intact, that's how I describe happiness, like being present. When you're present and you're healthy and you can use this body to move and play and get the most experience, that creates more awareness, right? And that more awareness allows you to have a broader view without being so, there's a word, myopic, where you're like narrow-sighted, where you just view things like this, right? And I don't see anything outside of what I'm honing in on right here, right? So what is your mission and vision? The vision for me is to make the world a healthier, happier place. My mission is to empower men holistically, to preserve the male gender of the human species, and to create warriors in the garden, right? To train warriors to enjoy being in the garden, but then also enhance their ability to kill, their ability to defend. And if you've ever embarked in martial arts in any way, shape, or form, the more skilled you are, the more experienced you are in combat, the more peaceful you actually are. The less violent you are. And the less you need to express that. Like, you don't need to express. If you can kill, you don't express that you need to kill, or I would kill. It's an energy, it's an aura, it's a stance, it's a posture. Right? And so if you identify that posture and see that these guys proverbially have their feet out, literally or proverbially, spiritually, physically, energetically, mentally, emotionally, financially, they are susceptible to getting injured, and they can fuck things up, right? And we all have areas in which our feet are turned out, aspects of our lives that are turned out. We got to put time and attention into mobility to bring them inward, metaphysically, spiritually, mentally, to where our posture can be more like bamboo, not so rigid like an old branch that's dying that you can pull on and it breaks, or the wind blows and it breaks down. Right? We had a shit ton of storms over the past month, and it was nature just clearing the weak hands, creating space and rebooting the system so that the strong hands, the mobile, flexible, strong branches can continue to grow and allow the tree to branch out. So I would love to hear what your vision and mission is. So the vision, giving you the example that I have, make the world a healthier, happier place. Something that is outside of you, beyond you, something that you could build a legacy, not for your ego, but for, Kanye said it really well. He's like, what's your legacy? What's your goal? And he goes, to not be remembered. What he means by that is he's creating a ripple in everybody's experience that 100 years from now, no one's gonna know Kanye's name, but his ripple changed the world for the better. So that vision needs to hold that, needs to, at its core, have that nucleus that is far beyond you and outside of the ego. And the mission, where your passion, where your gift, where your heart and your spirit is calling you to be and to do and to be of service. That's your mission. And then the vehicle is what you do to fulfill that mission, to ultimately water or fertilize that vision. The vision is boundless. Healthier, happier world is boundless. There's always going to be opposition. There's always going to be some form of injury or sickness or debilitation or dysfunction that can be loved, paid attention to be healed, to then lead into that. It's never just a state that's done, set, game, match, right? Like, even these graves will deteriorate, right, if they're not kept up. Boulders, mountains are shaped by the wind and the sand and the water. Even the pyramids of Giza, as resilient as they are, still over time change shape. So your vision and your mission and your vehicle in which you use to build that out, what is that? I'd love to hear it. For me, coaching, strength and mindfulness coaching is the vehicle that I have cooked up, that I've massaged, that I've worked, that I've developed, that I've strengthened, that I've trained, that has allowed me to get into rooms and be with individuals and groups that ultimately lead to a healthier, happier version of me, which then leads to a healthier, happier version of them, which leads to a healthier, happier version of their families, of our communities, of our networks. And then that starts to build and expand and creates a ripple far beyond yourself. You tune into that it's like breathing on a fire, breathing on the coals that just gets it hotter, that just builds it up, that just heats it up to a level where now the coals are hot to a point where they're actually creating a flame. And you could see that flame, and it's building and growing and building and growing. So when you get in tune and touch with that, now you can look at what's out of alignment, what's in alignment, what's in harmony and what's out of harmony. Where are the notes that are just off, that need to be retuned, retouched, calibrated, so that it becomes more harmonic more in alignment. So now your health, your love life, your family, your business, and your social life are all in alignment. So they're all lined up to where you don't have to necessarily focus on one while leaving the other out. They're all in alignment. They're all in tune. They're all connected instead of separated. That creates alignment. That creates the posture where you can be more mobile, flexible, and strong. Mobility is flexibility with strength integrated into it. So, I can be flexible and reach my arm out here, but if I don't have the strength through this area, this motion right here where the shoulder is most susceptible to getting injured, if I don't have the strength right here and have trained myself in these motions right here through the right type of training, when I get in a position where, let's say in martial arts and in jiu-jitsu or something, somebody pins me down here and I try to lift it up, or they pull me back and I can't handle that stress, my arm dislocates or a muscle rips or something happens, right? That causes an injury. So I have to strengthen the joint through the full range of motion. That's mobility. Having the strength through all ranges of motion. You want to look at your life like that. You want to look at your health, your love life, your family, your business, and your social aspects, your buckets of life. Those 5 buckets in social, those 5 buckets. Having those all mobile and strong through all ranges of motion, that's what you're building up to. That's what you're working on. That's what you're training for. That's what you wake up for. That's what you want to structure and create a vision of, and create a self-image of that version of you who has all those things in alignment. If you don't know where to start with health. That's the first one. That's the first one, because when you start working on health and you start getting connected to this body, because the body is the mind. They're not separate. We'll talk about mind, body, spirit. They're all one. So when we separate them, or we get disconnected from one, that the others suffer. You have to have all 3. Your body physically, your mind is your awareness, your perspective, your mental state, awareness of energy, awareness of the physical, awareness of the spiritual, and the world that you create and that you observe and that you experience. And spirit is the cause. And if you can get in touch with spirit and be connected with spirit and online all the time and seeing things from that perspective, you just get a lot more cool, calm, collective, and you can't be fucked with. And that's where, taking it back to the idea of roulette and putting your chips on red and knowing that you have infinite chips, that no matter what, even if you were to go broke from a decision, you miscalculated, you were out of touch with something, you got injured, you still have chips. You can generate chips, you can get chips, you can pull chips, you can create chips to get back in the game, to be in the game, continue to be in the game, because that's part of the game, actually. Let me know if this resonates, if this makes sense. Do this for yourself. And what's awesome about this is when you share this for yourself, you're actually helping others. Just as Connor took the risk to go out there in the octagon to show back up after being off for 5 years and getting disconnected with himself, getting disconnected with spirit, being influenced by the outward world, by the outside through liquor and money and all this stuff. He is showing us something that is within ourselves, something that is in our lives that we can look at and go, all right, I don't have to fucking buckle my knee and eat shit like he did. He put himself out on a massive stage for others to scrutinize him and all that stuff. And In order to expand, you have to care less about what the outside world is saying, doing, because all that is just noise. The more in touch and in tune you have to get with yourself and spirit, and you have to have the right people and the right perspectives that harmonize with you. And if something is out of alignment, it either needs to be addressed in some way, shape, or form. You need to stop doing the thing. You need to do something different. Like Connor's situation, like his training, something is off. Something is off with the training, right? So he either needs to stop doing something or change it, and then he needs to reframe he needs to change the perspective, change his perspective on how he's doing things. That will create different results. And it has to first start with ourselves. Who does he want to be as an athlete, as a fighter? He wants to be resilient. He wants to be the most springy, mobile, strong, powerful, resilient fighter out there. Well, you got to do that physically, mentally, spiritually, or physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. He's got it financially, perhaps. That's where I go energetic. Finances is energy, right? Everything is energy ultimately. And so this body, this image, this identity that we have, Justin, who's talking to you right now, is not who I am. And you watching this, the name that you have is not you. You are energy, you are spirit, you are far bigger than this little body and this finite world, this material world. You're so much bigger. And anything that we believe that constrains us, that holds us down, that says we can't do it because others can't do it, because it hasn't been achieved yet, it's false. It's there to be proven. If you can see it, Connor's words, I'll put that in here too.
How do you connect these?
If you can see it here and you have the courage enough to speak it, it will happen. So I see these shots, I see these sequences, and I don't shy away from them. A lot of times people believe in certain things, but they keep to themselves. They don't put it out there. If you truly believe in it, if you become vocal with it, you are creating that law of attraction, and it will become reality.
If you can see it and believe it, I'll add feel it and act on those feelings, you can achieve it, regardless of circumstance or situation. Life will test you no matter what. So if we just sit back and take the tests, we'll just get old and decrepit and eventually become one of those branches that breaks off. But if you continue to grow and you continue to develop that vehicle, maintain that vehicle, oil the vehicle, fuel the vehicle, upgrade the vehicle, because there's a clear mission and there's a clear vision that is so clear and so defined for you, and it's coming from spirit, it's coming from consciousness, it's coming from above, it's coming from who you really are, then the identity that you create, the name, Justin Reich, Justin Thomas Reich, he becomes that in this reality. And we have proof of it all over the place, including Conor McGregor, Kanye West, Jesus Christ, Buddha. You can do it all. You can have it all. You can be it all. Fuck age. Fuck limitations. Fuck circumstances and situations. Put energy, thought into your mission and vision and the identity and all aspects and realms of that identity of who he is. And now you start to filter thoughts, beliefs, relationships, choices. The less you have to think and the more you just do, the more you become. That's the game. Don't let the illusion determine what you can or cannot do. Don't let rules or constructs that appear to be real convince you that that's reality, because it's not. The shit we're finding out now, you know, we grew up believing that we couldn't stare at the sun. We would go blind staring at the sun. I stare at the fucking sun every fucking day for tens of minutes at a time. And I don't go fucking blind. The ancients did that. That's one example. What we've been taught has really just been because of others' fear, others' limitations. Everything is upside down, pretty much. I mean, we look at if you've been taught something that limits you, you can almost flip that on its head or find some variation of that and find the actual truth and go, wow, it's complete opposite of what people were saying. Look at business. Look at relationships. Look at how we've been taught, this is for another video, but like with men and women, how you handle women. It's complete opposite of what we've been taught. The men who are successful with women do a complete opposite of what society tells you to do. What complete opposite of what women tell you they want. Same thing with business. Same thing with anything else. Same thing with hustle culture, all that shit. Yeah, there's work, there's dedication, there's focus, there is energy that needs to be put into something. But when you get those 5 buckets in alignment and you get clear with who that identity needs to be and who you want it to be, and that mission and vision is clear, and you find the vehicle and you develop that vehicle and you put all your chips in that, you'll continue to generate chips to continue to put it on red, and eventually you will come out on top. And there is no table limit in that game. Most people put their chips in and worry about the odds, and when the ball's rolling in the roulette table, they're worried. When they already put the chips in, they calculated the risk, and they go, there's a 50% chance or 49% chance that I'll hit red. But when the ball starts rolling, they get worried. It's fucking retarded. Make the decision and then be at peace with the decision no matter what happens. That's what I see Conor doing. There's a lesson to be learned from that. There's a lesson to be learned from what happened last night with Conor. Busting his shit. All right, y'all. Put your thoughts and comments in here. Love to hear from you and what your thoughts are on all this, what came to mind. You're going to be prompting thought and insight for others to be able to do the same, and it's Anything held internally just doesn't come out. It doesn't come to life. So voice, share what that is. That comes to mind for you. For yourself first, but ultimately for the world and the vision in which you're creating. All right, y'all. Peace out.